Now, I'm going to introduce you, but I was going to introduce you in a way of like your name and who you are. But I want to
Mhm.
first start with this Gregg.
Mhm.
Can you please tell me? So, all these years, I've always, now your name is Gregory,
Right.
but we've always called you Gregg. And
Right.
for those of you that are like, okay, they just talking, this is my cousin.
Right.
Woo, I'm
Right.
so excited. So, so Gregory has two G's.
Gregory has one G. Greg
Okay.
has two G's. And as
So
a
what makes
child, and growing up in school, teachers call me Gregory. Nobody calls me Gregory, as an adult. Hey, Gregory, everybody calls me Greg, short. So I just added the G to make it Greg.
Oh, okay. So I like, so whenever I'm texting you or whenever we're communicating something that causes for me to write, I always say Greg. So now I
Mhm.
stand corrected.
No, you're not wrong. It's still Greg, just not Gregory, if that
Okay.
makes sense. Like
All right.
there are
So
no like my daughter and I had a conversation once before, and she was saying
uh-huh.
that there are no baby Gregorys in school anymore. No
Okay.
little Gregorys in school. So it just
All right, perfect. Okay. So I can still call you my cousin Greg, and I
absolutely
can do it with one G. I do not have to conform to two G's.
right. And nobody says Greg guh.
Okay.
Just Greg.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I first want to just thank you for I want to say this genuinely from my heart. I am so excited. Um I ever since we had the conversation about you possibly coming on here, which was over a month ago, actually, that
Hmm.
we actually had the conversation, but it's just becoming full circle, right? And for me, it was just such a blessing for me. And I mean that. It was such a blessing for me to think about us being younger. And then here we are as adults. You're older than me. So let's all just know that he's older than me. I'm not the oldest. My cousin is the oldest. All right. So when we were younger, we always want to be older. But now that I'm older, I want to be younger. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about you.
All right. I'm a little bit about me. I was of course raised in Detroit.
Mhm.
I went to the military at age 17. I stayed in the military for 30 years and retired. I did tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, been in Japan a few times, So, of course, along the way, I uh, had kids, and so, of course, raising kids and me not necessarily being there all the time. It was different, I guess, than your traditional family where, you raise the kids and you're there and they see you every day and things like that. So it was different, but I enjoyed it. So I don't think I would
Okay.
change it. And if I did, how you say you change one thing, it changes other things. So there's no way you could,
Yes.
structure it in a way whereas, I'm going to change just the good parts, but then the bad parts got to come along with it. That makes sense.
Oh, that makes all the sense in the
Mhm.
world. Thank you. Because, okay, so now that we know that, so part of the, not part of, I should not say that because that's not accurate what I'm getting ready to say. This whole purpose, as we know, is about mothers and adult daughters. And it's
Mhm.
more specific mothers and adult daughters with turbulent relationships.
Mhm.
And so one of the many reasons why men get an opportunity to come here and speak to us is so you have a daughter. She's not fully grown yet,
Okay.
but she's headed there. She's on her
Absolutely.
way.
Mhm.
She's on her way. And
Mhm.
so, as a father, what are some of the things that, and let's just talk about that. So, let's talk about as a father, what
Mhm.
do you think is a father's role that he can play for for a young lady going into adulthood from a father's perspective? And now this is going to be a loaded topic you and
Okay.
I are about to talk
Mhm.
about,
Okay.
but just kind of from the father's perspective, what can you place inside of your daughter that you believe can keep her on a respectful path? And let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think when I talk to my daughter, I try to tell her like communication, open the line of communication, because she's not going to feel comfortable talking to me about anything and everything, which is crazy. Sometimes kids will talk to their friends more than they talk to their parents. So I have to let her know that it's okay, no matter what it is. You could talk to me about it. I got your best interests at heart like nobody else does. Not that little boy, not that little girl. You know, they don't know anything. They're on the same level as you are. You know, but sometimes kids will talk to them because they feel comfortable with them. So I try to make my daughter feel comfortable and let her know that anything going on in your life, I don't care what it is, boys, girls, sex, drugs, anything, you could talk to me about it. And I'm going to give you um, good guidance on what you should and should not do. I don't care if you do something illegal. I think she should be able to come to me and tell me about it. And then it's damage control from there. Okay, baby, where do we go from here? You know, so I like to open up the lines of communication, tell her she can talk to me about anything.
Wow. I love that. Now, let's talk about this because you know, a lot of us as mothers,
Mhm.
we didn't get that right all the way. So,
Absolutely.
because you talk about, let's go back a little bit, cousin.
Okay.
Can I call you cousin on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go back, cousin. And you talk about when you went to the military. I still remember when was it the sergeant from the
Oh, it
Marines?
was. It was a sergeant.
Okay,
Yes.
it was the sergeant that came to the house. I remember being there, and I remember being so. I'm telling you, okay, ladies and whoever, like when I tell you, I was excited. I was proud at 16 because I was 16,
Mhm.
and I was proud to see that happening. I can't explain to you
Right.
what a 16-year-old was necessarily thinking, but I just knew inside of me, I felt proud to see that moment happening. It was as if though you knew what your destiny was.
Mhm,
Maybe
mhm,
you didn't, but it just you executed that. And I
mhm.
remember standing there in the dining room because they came through the side door. I remember, I remember the
Great
dining
memory.
room.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember because it did something for me.
Mhm,
And I look and I it's just when a person knows this is what I want to do
mhm,
and they execute it. I find that to be amazing to me because I am that way in a lot of things. But I'm saying all this to say when we talk about you being that age, right? I end up getting pregnant. So by
mhm,
the time I'm 17 years old, I'm around here getting pregnant. Like,
mhm,
what we doing here? When at 17, you made a decision to say, I want something different with my life. I don't want the same thing. And it doesn't mean that everything was bad, but there was something in your mind that said, I want something better and greater for myself.
mhm,
And so when we have children early on, just what you just said, it's maturity that allowed you not having kids early on, going
mhm.
on to do something different and better for you so that you could give something to a child if you ever chose to. You remember the little what did we call them? Critters.
Critters. The critters. Yeah.
Okay, everybody don't get upset with us, okay?
I
But
know,
that's
right?
critters. But your decision to do that allow for you to have a mindset that you have now that
Mhm,
says what I have learned later on in life. Allow your children to make the mistakes while the
mhm,
risks are low when they're home.
mhm.
You knew that already. Did the military help you with coming to that knowing of yourself?
Well, I think I was always different. And when I say myself, different in a good way.
Mhm.
I say unique. You know, sometimes people say you're different or something wrong with you. No, I think in a way whereas I was never a follower. I never did what everybody else did. I never went down the path that they went down just because they did it. It's always like, and like I said, it was something I think that was unique in myself that I didn't even know at the time. Growing up, everybody I hung with were um, at an early age, say indulging in some beverages that they should not have been indulging in, so to speak. They were,
Oh,
they were,
beverages? You don't
they were
say. What kind of beverages, cousin? Okay. I'll
some
talk about
mature
these beverages, but
beverages.
go ahead. We're not gonna put nobody else in here.
Right, right. I mentioned no names, of course. So, but I was just different. So I said, I never peer pressure never bothered me. Nobody could ever say, "Hey, Greg, everybody's doing this here." No, I'm good. You go ahead, do your thing. I'm not doing that. So, I think growing up in Detroit, in high school, I got good grades in high school. I think I was pretty athletic. So going to the military was recruiter Sergeant Warmley was his name. It's funny you still remember me as a sergeant. He would come by, honestly, just bugging me, like, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? I mean, I always work. You know, in Detroit, I'm cutting grass, I'm raking leaves, I'm shoveling snow, I'm paper routing, I'm doing everything I can to make, because I'm, single parent. My mom, I didn't want to, expect her to do everything for me. So I was
Mhm.
I had a work ethic, if that makes sense. I didn't expect nobody
Yeah.
to give me anything, so I always went and worked for it. So I would want my kids to have that same work ethic, but it's not necessarily like that now, you know. And like I said, as you get older, you think, well, I'm going to give my kids what I didn't have. And I've learned, and as we go, I guess, further into the conversation, that's not necessarily the best method to say, I'm going to give my child everything that I didn't have, and
Yes.
they're going to be successful and they're going to be great. Not so much, you know, doesn't work like that, you know.
Oh
You
my
gotta have a
goodness.
balance.
It doesn't. And it's a double sword to that too. It's that phrase that I didn't understand until I was older. You DAM men if you do, you DAM men if you don't.
Yeah.
Like if you do this, it doesn't work that way either. If you don't do it, it doesn't work that way either.
Absolutely
Now that doesn't mean that's a blanket for everybody,
Right.
but that the rule that works for one may not work for the other, and vice versa, because you are definitely, I can say this to you, I say it openly, you are someone that I reference to so many times because you genuinely made a decision. And here, let me say this part too, because I'm wanting adult daughters to understand this conversation. Hopefully it will help you and mothers, because I'm a mother and I'm an adult daughter, will help them be able to think back over their life on some areas. But I remember I wasn't necessarily indulging in a bunch of the beverages. Okay. And I didn't do, now I had a beverage or two, but I wasn't indulging in the beverages like that. But what I didn't do, I wasn't getting high. I wasn't smoking sick. Like, you're not going to make me do something in these areas that I don't want to do. Right. And so one of the things I remember, but what I did do was I had a potty mouth. Cuss. And I recently had talked to you about that one time because we were standing out on the corner. We're not saying street names. We were standing outside by the house on the corner. And I say we're not saying street names, so let's be careful because you don't know what these people intent be. Okay. So we were standing outside on the corner at the house, your childhood home, and we're all out there. And everybody's cursing, they're doing whatever. So I come out and I'm cursing. And now everybody doing all this cursing. But you say something to me and you look at me and you say, cousin, cursing is nothing but a person with a lack of a vocabulary. And instead of me getting upset, now remember everybody, he went to the military. He signed up at 17. So he had to get permission from my wonderful aunt, whom I love to pieces. So if he's saying this to me, we're still teenagers. So your mindset already, but what I'm saying is I could have taken that and had an attitude and who you talking to and you don't tell me what to do. I remember, I'm serious, I remember that sticking with me because the reality was, cousin, you were only a year older than me. So there are right now, this generation or this culture now is, who are you telling me something? Because they don't want to tell me anything. But when you talk about being different, I always knew I was different. I always knew something about me was different. I knew it on the inside of me. There's something different about Elenor. And so I remember standing out there when you said that to me. And I also remember the word that I used. Okay. So the moment was very memorable. And I remember walking away from that, feeling inside of myself like the best way to put it is like embarrassed, but in a good way. Because the reality was, why are you cursing? If you want to express yourself, it's a way to express yourself. And you do not have to do it by using foul and vulgar language that brings attention to you in a negative way. You don't have to. And you weren't one that cursed ever. So I love that. And I'm hoping that women, daughters, even a man that may be hearing this or a young man, you do not have to make decisions based upon what your peers are doing. And I go back, and I know I'm staying on this kind of long-winded, but I'm hoping someone really get it. When I talk about, I came out, people were cursing, your friends were out there that were cursing, but it's as if though God allowed you to speak directly to my heart. And you were just addressing me. Maybe it's because I was your little cousin, but I'm grateful to God that you did, because it set my mind on a different path in some areas. So how do you use that with your daughter and your son?
Right. Well, like you mentioned, my mother. I say shout out to my mother. I thank
Yes.
her.
Is she wonderful?
Like,
Can we
thank
just stop
you.
for a minute though? Don't forget what you're saying. Don't forget what you're saying. But can we just please give a shout out to my auntie?
Yes,
I know
ma'am.
she your mama, but she my auntie. Like, there is no auntie like that. I don't care what nobody say. Y'all don't have no auntie like my auntie.
And so you did say, like I said, me going to the military at 17. I was too young to go into the military. So my mother had to sign a waiver form to allow me to go into the military because I wasn't, of course, of age yet. But she said she felt, some people were telling her, why you letting your son go into the Marines at that? Marines are crazy. Everybody said it, So, but she said, well, I felt safer with him being in the Marines and on the streets of Detroit,
Yes.
And so I thank her for that. And I love you for that. I appreciate it, Mom. Thank you. So,
So listen.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna drop these nuggets in here right quick because I need these young women. Yes, I'm talking to you, young women. I need y'all to hear me. We're talking about elders. We're talking about someone that's older than us, that's telling us or guiding away, even for some things. My aunt, your mom, my mom, your aunt. So we're cousins because we have a aunt and two aunts that are sisters, right?
Yes,
so this is not no distant.
First cousins.
Right? We're first cousins, and so we had parents that didn't always. Now you didn't get the whoopings like.
No, I was a good kid.
Yeah. That's just terrible. You just didn't want nobody put no eye drops in your eye or nothing like that. You would cry, be mad, running. I'm like, how he going to the Marines and you can't even put an eye drop in his eye? Okay, but anywho, so the thing is, the rest of us, okay, we would get in trouble. You got a couple, but not a lot.
Yeah,
but
because of you all. And if they didn't know who did it, I would get it because of you all. But y'all know I didn't do it.
Did you just do it? Okay. Yes.
I didn't say who. It was more than just you. I'm not saying you. I'm saying.
Listen, where's it at? I still have a scar. I still have a scar on my eye because my cousin Anthony, he ends up. We're pushing and pushing on the swing when we were kids, and we weren't supposed to jump off. Yes, and he tells me, "You can jump."
I remember. Yes, I do.
Yes. And I jumped off that swing. No, I'm sorry. He told somebody else they could jump. They jumped. The swing came back, bust me in my eye. Blood was running.
I remember.
Yes. So listen, you and me both, cousin. We got in trouble for other people's stuff. But anyway, what I'm saying is, when we would get in trouble, like butt whoopings, because I talk about it on here all the time. I had a mouth. My mama was jacking me up for a window. My head was going through windows. I was getting that butt whoop because my mouth was always running.
No.
And so, but I didn't grow up. Today you have and my auntie, I never got in trouble by her until one time again because of somebody else. My cousin gonna go and get into it with the neighbor behind, and I run up in the girl face. Auntie, your mama tell me, like, she's trying to talk to us, and I keep talking. She slapped the taste out of my mouth. That was like, and I hadn't even. She's like, "I shut up," like, "Oh, shut up." And so, and I was upset because I wasn't the one that started it. My cousin did, But the point is, here even though we got into trouble, we got our butt whooped. We got even words probably were said to us that probably should not have been said to us. When we got older, we weren't blaming our parents for our choices. We live in a culture now where this generation, or this I say culture because when I think of generation, normally people think of an age range or age group, but it's the culture we're in because you have babies disrespecting parents.
Oh, absolutely.
You have 20 some 30 40, you have 60 70-year-olds still being disrespectful, right? There's no, and I find it to be because when we make decisions and choices, we don't want to own and accept when those choices go awry. So we're angry with everybody and we're disrespectful, especially disrespectful to mothers. And so when I think about my mother and I think about my aunt, which were the women that were most influential in my life growing up. Yes, as a kid, you running off at the mouth, but when I became a grown woman, as the word of God tells us, it says, when you're a child, you think as a child. When you become a man, a grown man, you think as a grown man do. As you become a woman, you think as a grown woman. You stop blaming other people for the choices and the actions that you've made.
Right.
So when we talk about that, what comes to mind to you when you think about, okay, what if your adult daughter gets out here and she makes a decision and says, okay, I blame you for every problem that I have? What's some advice or conversation we can have about how that would look and how you could kind of redirect her to understand?
I would actually, well, I would say, baby, give me some facts, not just, feelings. Give me the facts on what brought you to this stage. When you say, if you say I want to say, what was I irresponsible as a father, or if I didn't do what she felt I should do? Is that, what I'm saying, as a
Yeah,
father?
she felt like, yes.
I would
Maybe
say,
she felt like whatever, she made a choice. I'm sorry. She made a choice. That choice blew up in her face after you told her, don't do this. But she continues to blame you. Yeah. How can you talk to a father or a mother on how to handle such a situation?
So what I tell my daughter is, I said, like you just mentioned, choices. We all have choices. We all have 24 hours in a day. Everybody got the same 24 hours. What you do with those 24 hours is up to you. And people will blame. It's easy to blame somebody else for your problem. But I tell my daughter sometimes, I see kids will shoot themselves in the foot, then wonder why they're bleeding. It's self-inflicted. You doing this to yourself. And sometimes, because I say, it's like, for me, I told my daughter, it's like watching a movie, like a scary movie. I know what's going to happen. I've seen this movie before. But sometimes I have to let her go through it. We used to say experience is the best teaching. Sometimes I think experience is the only teaching. We got to let them go through it. And so I sometimes, and I don't even do that. I told you so with my daughter. If I tell her don't do something and she chose to do it anyway, and then the consequences of her actions, I have to let her see sometime, baby, it's consequences to your actions. I got your best interest at heart. I don't want to see anything happen to you. But if I tell you not to do something and you do it, there's consequences for that. Hopefully they won't be so detrimental where it's hard to come back from. So I try to talk to her like that. Look, I'm gonna guide you down the right path. I ain't gonna never tell you anything that's wrong, because I don't have anything to gain from you suffering. I'm gonna suffer if that happens, if that makes sense. So I try to tell her, look, anything you got on your mind, anything going on, come talk to me about it. And I know she don't necessarily feel too comfortable. Like I said, for whatever reason, they go to their friends, talk to their friends. But I try to have that line of communication open. Say, baby, anything going on, you can come and talk to me about it. And if it's something bad, I don't always like chastise her about it, because then that's going to shut her down. I still want to leave the door open and say, look, babe, I got it. You did this. You knew it was wrong. So what do we do now? We need to fix it. We need to change it. Change your thought process. You can't keep doing things like this, because there are consequences for your actions.
So. Wow. Let me tell you something. So let's talk for these grown children out here. Okay. We about to have a conversation. All right. So now she's going into, because let me just tell you, first of all, I need us to tune in on what you just said, because there are still young women. You have young daughters still at home. And so that's real good. And that's a father that's being there. Someone right now is probably saying, okay, that's all fine and dandy that a father is saying that. But let's talk about this. What about when the mother I don't know if you have this issue at home. So with your wife and you, what if there's that dynamic that, okay, she wants to go one way with your daughter and you want to go another? Maybe there's a hollerer in the home and a person that's calm in the home.
Right.
How and children, when they're growing and they're at that age of growing into adulthood, they can shut down or go against. So how do I ask this? Because there's somebody's wondering this, because I know I am. When you have a two-parent home and the parents don't agree, and the daughter wants to go against the mom or the father, right? How do you handle that? How do you still be with your wife and be able to stick with her as a unit, but even though you have a difference of opinion?
Right. So my daughter's a daddy's girl. My daughter, she want to ride with me. She want to be with me. She's with her mother right now. They're actually in Florida on spring break. But my daughter's a daddy's girl. So if she will talk to me about something that her mother is saying and that she disagrees with, and I don't undermine her mother's authority. It's still a mother. Her mother tell you to do something, you got to do what your mother say. What I try to get her to understand is why her mother is saying what she's saying. She's not just saying that you can't go to the party or whatever because she don't want you to go to the party. She's thinking about the big picture. Okay, where is this party at? Who are you going with? Do I know these people? Do I know? Because that's my wife. Well, who are you going with? What are their parents' names? I need their parents' numbers and what time you coming back and who's driving. So she's like that.
Exactly.
And I'm more like, hey, baby, hey, have fun. I love you. Text me, call me when you get there. I'm more like, I'm not like, hey, because what will happen is I think, and what has happened through my experiences, if you lock them up and tell them, oh, you ain't going to this party, or you ain't talking to this boy, or you ain't talking to this person, they're gonna talk to that person. And because it's like, well, why can't I talk to this person? Why shouldn't I talk to this person? If I tell a guy, if I meet a guy, and she, and I don't get a good vibe from this guy. I'm not going to tell her, you ain't talking to him. He's terrible. He's no good. I have to let her see for herself. I recognize it and I'll see. Like I said, she know better to bring a boy over here with his pants sagging, or he got a foul mouth. Don't bring him in here. She already know that.
So, come here with that.
Right. So, but at the same time, I still tell her, like my wife would tell her, if her and a guy's going through a situation, her little boyfriend or whatever, oh, baby, give him another chance. She asked my opinion. I said, babe, what do you want? You got to date him. I'm not dating a boy. As long as he ain't doing any disrespect for you or out of order, I just speak to him. We keep it moving. But my wife is like, oh, he's a good guy. He's nice. He's sweet or whatever, and my daughter's like, And I said, baby, you got to make that decision, because you got to be with this person, not me, so.
Oh, no, that's so good. So, okay, so let's just, again, we're going to chat about this thing here. Because so many, let me tell you something, so many of us teenage mamas, right? Just talk about it. So, and not all of us, right? Mm-hmm. But I definitely was a strict mother. I know you remember, I wouldn't let my daughter go with anybody. Like she was, and I was very strict. And so I think about when my daughter first was gone from home. And all her years, it's like no tattoos. We don't do tattoos. Right. I mean, I don't have any to this day. Like I'm a part of that thing that if it's something that I can't change readily, then if it's something that's permanent, I don't want to. I mean, kids permanent enough. Right. I don't want to go no more permanent.
Right. I'm with you.
Okay. So all right. So tattoos isn't my thing. Hello. I'm not going against nobody. That's what they want to do. So please don't start putting nothing in the chat about no. That's just not my thing. But one of the things my daughter wanted was she wanted a tattoo. You're not gonna get it from here. You not while you under my roof. That's my thing, right? When she was out of the home, I'm talking about expeditiously. I see her a little bit. I said, what? I said, what is that? And she said it just as bold as she could. It's a tattoo. You said as long as I was under your roof, I couldn't have one, and I got one. Ooh, right. So it's like, so when you say that, and then just just having that thumb on them. But even with that though, I want to first say thank you for giving that analogy, and hopefully we get that for somebody that's raising the child now. But when we talk about that respect, so I got a couple notes because I didn't want us to miss things. Okay. So respect, how much of we may have gotten it wrong, because we gonna get it wrong. I don't care, even how perfect we can be in the area, we're gonna get something wrong. And not only that, even if we get it all the way right, our children have a mind of their own. So when they get older, depending on, I don't care how much we taught them, depending on what they get out here to, or what gets a hold to them, that can alter their way of thinking. Prayerfully, they come back to it the right way, but it can alter them, right? But how much do we allow let's talk about this. How much do we think we should allow when it comes to them being disrespectful? Because I'm going to just tell you, I don't know if you're ready for this, but I'm going to tell you. Okay. You just not about to be talking, running off at that mouth at me and think you can keep on disrespecting me and I'm going with that. Because so many parents, I'm going to give it all to you and you can digest it. I'm not going to forget it and I can come back to it. But so many parents feel like because I'm hearing them and you see them.
Mm-hmm.
They want their children at all costs, meaning
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're doing something that goes against the word of God. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
if you out here doing whatever that you know is wrong because I want us to have a relationship. I'm not losing this relationship with my child. I don't care. I'm not giving you no good words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just rocking with you.
Okay.
Like that's to and then there's disrespect, right? So they'll allow their children to be
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful to them because they don't want to lose the relationship with them.
Right.
So what do you think about that, cousin?
What I found is the parents that allow the kid, because I don't want to lose my child, so I'm gonna let my child say and do whatever they want to do. They're not gonna gain respect for you. They're gonna be more disrespectful. They're gonna push the envelope more because
Mhm.
you don't have no boundaries. You don't put your foot down and tell them no, that's not gonna happen in my house. And if it takes them leaving the house, they still gotta abide by your rules and regulations. Some parents will say, "Well, I don't want my baby to leave the house, so I'm gonna give them what they want." And what you're giving them is the right to be disrespectful. You tell
Mhm.
them that it's okay. If they're talking to you in a disrespectful manner and you allow it to happen and you don't address it, or it keeps happening. And I
Mhm.
understand a mistake. Nobody's perfect. Kids will make mistakes or whatever. But normally, like our generation, we grew up, mind you, I never cursed, of course, but if somebody around my generation,
Okay.
I ain't saying he did, but yeah, so my generation, if a kid would curse and adults in the room or enter the room or something, they cover their mouths. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I apologize." They would do that. This generation now, they go more aggressive, like, what you gonna do,
Yes.
So I didn't say that I'm a teacher. I teach at a high school now, right? So I'm
Mhm.
dealing with kids and I see a lot of different personalities. I tell the kids sometimes, I'm one person in the classroom. When y'all come, y'all bring all 25 of y'all negative energy or positive energy is coming towards me. So I have to deflect that. I can't go down every little rabbit hole that y'all try to take me down because you having some issues or you got some things going on. So I have to
Yeah.
know how to address that. You got to have a balance. But yeah, definitely. I learned though, like I said, if a kid is being disrespectful and you allow it to happen, they're not going to get respectful because you allow them to be disrespectful. They're going to get more disrespectful. That's what happens.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's so good. And then two, with the respect, I'm finding as well. So, cousin, I find this as well. I find that I'm about to get some pushback, not from you, but I'm about to get some
Okay.
pushback on this. Res- Respect, we're talking about from the adult daughters and
Mhm.
adult whoever the kids, right?
Okay.
Even when they're younger. You have our generation, even though we knew then, but now some of them, they don't understand the respect factor. Like they're disrespectful
Mhm.
to people, and you wonder, wait a minute, you my age.
Mhm.
Didn't you know better
Mhm.
than to do
Mhm.
this? Because this culture now, it's all about I'm not gonna respect you just because you want me to respect you.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
because of who you are.
Right.
Okay, we grew up. Okay, I'm gonna respect you because you're my parent. Not
Mhm.
if I don't want to be around you, then I won't. And that brings me to something.
Mhm.
I have this here. How much? Because I want us to talk about this before
Okay.
when we were together,
Mhm.
and that is when they're angry.
Mhm.
How much do you think? And let's just that this. I just think some of them want to be angry.
Okay.
I do. I think
Mhm.
a lot of these young people, grown people,
Mhm.
want to be angry because you talked about the energy 25 different energies, whether it be
Mhm.
positive or
Mhm.
negative. People coming to you with negative energy just on the strength of them being miserable themselves.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I guess for me, I'll be wondering, can we find any positivity? Can we get any joy?
Mhm.
It don't mean you have to be happy all the time, but it's like some people choose to have
Mhm.
negative energy.
Mhm.
Do you find that even dealing with as many people coming from the military? Because you had
Mhm.
a whole plethora of different people
Right.
uh, that you had to deal with. So, did you find that some people just naturally want to have anger?
Yes. And you could be angry and not disrespectful. You could be mad and not be disrespectful too. You could voice your opinion. You could do it respectfully though. So I think
Yeah.
just because you're mad don't give you the right to be disrespectful. Not at all. So um I think Communication, like I said, respect, communication, and trust. Like I said, those are my big three. Respect, communication, and trust. You gotta be respectful no matter what you're doing. And respect is a two-way street. These kids nowadays will say, well, like you mentioned, you ain't gonna talk to me like that. Who you talking to? And I would say, well, I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you. You know that I'm talking to you. But
Mhm.
it's like as we say, the peanut gallery. The likes. Everybody want likes in this generation, so they want to show out for the like I say, for the peanut gallery. The other kids, like I said, I'm talking about me in the classroom now. If I'm addressing the kids that's doing something that they shouldn't be doing, if I pull that kid to the side and I talk to them, they're a whole lot more calmer and they're a whole lot more respectful. But if you say something where you're trying to call them out or embarrass them in front of their peers, they're going to strike back. They're going to be, disrespectful, so to speak, because they feel like they got an image to protect or uphold or something like that. Yeah, but just because you're angry or you're upset, don't give you the right to be disrespectful.
That is so good. Now I'm getting ready to flip this a little bit. I want you to add, I want you to just, what's on your mind when it comes to adult daughters that you may have, that you may want to chat about?
I would say, what is my biggest thing? I wonder, like, what is my daughter? Who's my daughter talking to? Who has her ear that she's talking to that she's not telling me? Because I know, she's a young lady, so I know she's talking
And
to somebody.
beautiful,
Thank you.
beautiful,
Yes,
I
thank you.
might add.
It's crazy. I just told him my cousin that y'all actually favor. She looks like you, so that's funny. But
Genes,
yeah.
baby, it's in the genes. We got good genes. Go ahead.
But I want to know who has my daughter's ear. Like, who is she listening to? Why is she listening to them? Why is she going to them to talk to them about something that she could talk to me about? Why is she not talking to me about it? So that's what I try to find out. Like, babe, talk to me. You need to be able to talk to me. So
Now I want to comment on that. So even though I don't know if you steer that as a question towards me, but I'm gonna
okay,
come at it because I want you to ask
okay.
me what you might want to know. So I found out that from my own, it's through time, we all grow and mature prayerfully. Let me
Okay,
say that.
absolutely.
My hope is that we all will mature.
Mhm.
Everybody don't. They don't. Okay. Some people stay stagnant. They don't grow. They still got childlike minds. I'm just putting it out there. It's the
Mhm.
truth. So don't get mad at me.
No. I
But
would say birthdays
so
only make you older. They don't make you no wiser, no smarter. Just make
you
you
better
older.
speak that thing. So when we grow and mature, hopefully, so in the growing and the maturing that I've done through Christ,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, and I don't just say that, like I literally love the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So my growth has been by my studying of the word and seeing the error of my own ways and things. So because of that, coming back to what you asked, I found that part of the problem is that I had was my daughter, when coming up, there were certain things she would hold from me because my judgment
Mm-hmm.
was so strong.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about a little bit ago about how you don't even get upset sometimes, or you don't punish her at times. I think, and to me, it was always because that's what we came under.
Mm-hmm.
Like we came under that, choke you up, you better
All
get
right,
your
right.
butt together, right? So since we came under that, that's what I knew. But I thought, but I'm gonna do it better.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it like so. If I got my butt whooped for every word I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna whoop your butt for every other word you
Mm-hmm.
say, right? But
Mm-hmm.
either way, the aggression still is the same, right?
Right.
So, but the thing is, they shut you down
Mm-hmm.
because they can't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned that if I would have known the secret to just allowing, as I stated, those risks, let that stuff happen, but then allow my daughter, she's an adult now, but allowed her at the time to verbalize what she needed to, and then embraced her
Mm-hmm.
at the time she thought that I wouldn't, because those are the things that will shut them down
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, okay, I can't talk to you. When we talk about who has their ear, what we do when they feel they can't talk to us, they go and grab for someone
Mm-hmm.
else's ear.
Right.
Who is this guy that they're talking to
Mm-hmm.
that makes them believe? Because I'm gonna tell you, I know you, my cousin, and I love you, but you a man,
Mm-hmm.
and men have a tendency as women, we be like, okay, y'all can say some things to when, especially when they're younger. We talking about younger.
Mm-hmm.
These girls, they listening to these men, these boys mess, telling them, "Oh, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Right.
not gonna do you like this person is doing you." So Oh, so we all know I love outside of gospel. We all know I love the blues.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. I love the blues. I have to stay away from it sometimes. But there's this song that talks about oh my goodness, she just left me. But she is, what is it? The woman, she waiting on him around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is that you doing as a woman at home, you pushing them into the arms of the
Mm-hmm.
woman that's waiting, because it's a woman on every point waiting to grab your husband,
Mm-hmm.
grab your man. They waiting. So the point I'm making with that is, when our young adults, our young adult daughters are going through at home, they're definitely wanting to hear someone tell them something good. And
Mm-hmm.
if that boy even senses, oh, it's trouble at home,
Mm-hmm.
they get their ear, and the next thing you know, your daughter is being pulled further and further and further away from you, all on the basis of what they may deem as rejection at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long-winded statement I just made, but I'm saying it like because that is an area how boys get our
Mm-hmm.
young adult daughters' ear,
Mm-hmm.
because and then when they feel low self-esteem, let's say
Right.
there's nothing going on at
Mm-hmm.
home that's wrong, but they may not be secure in their bodies. They may not be secure in the way they look. We have to then be able to horn in on those things to be able to see, you know, is my daughter struggling with this?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
how can I talk to her about this?
Mm-hmm.
So
You know,
that's
I think what I've learned too, women like what they hear, and men
yes.
like what they see. You know, so if a young man is young man like what he sees, think my daughter's attractive. I told my call my daughter my little chocolate. That's why I got my phone, my little chocolate, right? So my daughter's athletic. You know, she runs track, she cheers, she swims, she's she tumbles, she does a lot of things. So just give an example of like she got to know that I'm the first man that's telling her that she's beautiful. You
Come
don't
on,
need nobody to validate you.
come
You don't
on.
need nobody to tell you. So, and I'm sure, you know, kids go, we as parents, we think kids don't go through anything. You have to realize that your kid, it may not be a problem to you, and like, but to them, it may be something major. And so when
Mhm.
kids, I think about me being in the classroom dealing with young ladies and my daughter, if she tell me something, I have to take it that it's major to her. Even though I'm sitting there and I'm looking at, I got my poker face on, I'm looking like, dang, baby, that's it. I'm looking like, so what else happened? Is that it? And she's like, Dad, yeah, that's what happened. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking like, wow. But to her, it's major. So I have
Yeah.
to address it as such. I got to let her know, like, look, babe, well, this is what you need to do. This is what I recommend. This is advice I give her, something like that. But she got to hear it from us. She got to know, like every time I go to go tell my mom something, I know my mom just gonna get mad. She gonna fuss me out. She gonna curse me out. She gonna tell me I'm stupid or whatever may be going on
Yeah.
in the family. She ain't coming to you. Like she know what you're gonna do. Now, if you embrace it and say, all right, baby, talk about it. Tell me what's going on. Tell me why do you feel that way? Tell me why you allowed this man. Why'd you listen to him? Why do you listen to me? Why did you go with them when you knew where they were going? And you know, I
Yeah.
want you to be able to make better decisions because I'm not always going to be there. So I tell my daughter, baby, I need you to make the right decisions. You know, when I'm not there, I need you to again, I keep saying, I got your best interest at heart. So if you
Yes.
listen to that little boy that want to gas you up and tell you what you want to hear, you know, I would say, don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me the truth and hurt my feelings. Don't lie to me to make me feel good. I tell people that all the
Oh,
time.
that's
So
so
tell me,
good. That's
you know, so
so
yeah.
good. Now, you just said a whole podcast by itself. And let me tell you why. That's one of the major issues that I have when it comes to absent fathers.
Mhm.
So I did a podcast, a series on absentee fathers in our adult daughters' lives.
Okay.
And so the thing about it is fathers, we talk about and just so you know, I just found out what gaslighting was about 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
did not know. All right. So anyway, fathers, if anybody gonna do any gaslighting, it should be a father, not the meaning like, but boosting the daughters up.
Right. Right.
I genuinely believe, hear me when I tell you, don't even second guess this 20 years from now. I
Okay.
genuinely believe, I've lived it. When a daughter does not have her father present in her life to be able to pour into her life,
Mm-hmm.
to validate her, to tell her her worth, to tell her she's good, to
Mm-hmm.
tell her you could come to me about any and everything.
Mm-hmm.
she feels that absence of him. And when she gets older, she's constantly seeking that.
Right.
She's seeking that. Now, is that everyone? No, but there is a part of that in every woman that has an absent father that has chosen. And see, that's a passionate thing for me. And that's passionate for me because I got pregnant at 17.
Mhm.
That's another thing. Let's not be out here getting pregnant all
Mhm.
early because now you have two wounded teenagers or just two teenagers, immature,
Mhm.
having a child that more than likely are not even coming together. So now you have a brokenness for this child. This
Mhm.
child has a brokenness when they from inception. There's
Mhm.
brokenness. So you have adult daughters struggling right now, choosing the wrong men, being disrespectful to the mothers. Because I'm gonna just ask you, why mothers always got to get the hit for the daddies not being there? I don't
Mhm.
understand, especially when the mother is giving they all.
I'll say because the child 99% of the time is going to be with the mother. And sometimes the mother will, and you heard this before, use that baby as a pawn, so to speak. Yeah, I think if a father cannot afford to pay child support, he
Uh-huh.
still should be allowed to see his child and spend time with his child.
That's
Because it ain't
right.
about the material things, it ain't about the money. If he can't provide, now, you say you're a deadbeat dad, you sorry, whatever, because you and that mother didn't get along or
That's
y'all didn't
right.
work out, he still should be allowed to see his child. But so what
Mhm.
happens is sometimes those mothers will keep their child away from that father. And then, you know, say things to the child that the child probably shouldn't hear, and shouldn't know. And so then that child probably grew up resenting the father for whatever reason. Maybe that's not the case. So that happens sometimes, whereas like I said, a mother will not allow the child to spend time with the father because the father is not paying child support. It's different when you can't afford to, and if you have it, you're just not giving it because you and her didn't work out for whatever reason. Like I say, but you don't know everything. Life happens. And y'all don't work it out, but it's still not the kid's fault. But a lot of times, the mother, because like I said, the kid is normally with the mother, so that mother will
Mhm.
keep that child away from that father. So.
Now that's so good. We about to get in this here. Now, I agree with you. So let me just pause so
Mhm.
everybody can get it. I 150% agree with you. We're gonna pause right there for a second because I need that to marinate. I don't want anybody to misunderstand that at all. I agree with that. Because when we as mothers begin, because I'm an advocate for that, I always say, I let it be known, tearing my daughter's father down was not the thing to do. Now,
Mhm.
did I think he could have did what he needed to do? Yes, because he was not there. She grown, she good and grown now, so I can
Mhm.
go on and speak this stuff. Like it just he wasn't there. He went on did whatever. But the point I'm making to that is, it's still the reality is, as mothers, I talked about this on here before, stop holding
Mhm.
these children from their fathers. Now, we're not talking about fathers that are you got people that child molesters,
Right.
people killing their kid. We're not talking about violence. We're not
Mhm.
talking about those types of parents. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a parent that maybe they fell down on hard luck, or maybe they just lazy, but he was lazy when you got with him. So don't
Right.
act like you didn't know
Absolutely.
he was lazy.
That's
So you
true.
got with him, he was lazy. You get a baby, and now you want to make him do everything. Well, he was
Mhm.
lazy when you got him. Your choice. You got to wake up again. Shout out to my auntie that always said that to me, even coming up. Remember the decisions you make because you got to
Mhm.
look yourself in the mirror the next morning. And I
Mhm.
learned that early on. So the thing is, mothers, if you still have these young daughters at home, or even if they grown now, stop blaming the fathers for the choices that was made on your part in that category. When they
Mhm.
were young, like I hear these mothers, I hear them now. They have young and they talking about these fathers. Don't talk about the fathers because if you're talking about the fathers to me, you're talking about it in front of these kids.
Mhm.
We need to stop that. Stop holding these children from their fathers because they need them. If that father doesn't give them anything but a good word,
Mhm.
when you were just talking a moment ago about the things that you're saying to your daughter, that breathes life into them.
Mhm.
It's not always about money. because somebody about to be mad about this, and hopefully not. Because a lot of times, women, not all of you, but I need you to be real with yourself. How many of us want that child support so you could go and live your life and do what you want to do? Because there's no reason why a child should be hungry and your nails done.
Right.
A child can't go to a school activity and your hair whipped. Like, because and child support coming in and you saying it's yours. No. And then you still holding the child from the father. Like, there are so many scenarios I could give in this. And if it sounds like I'm coming off judgmental, take it however you want to. It's a real reality. It's a real thing. Stop holding these children from their fathers. Just stop it. Now, going back, I got off of that rant. Now we're going to go back. I probably got you looking like, where my
No,
cousin?
it's not good. It's not, but you're right. Babies don't care about your money. They care about your time. They want your
Yes.
time. You know, they don't care about the money. I mean, you know, a kid, you buy a kid something, a toy, so to speak. You remember as a little kid, them kids open that toy up, set the toy aside, and they playing with the box. You know, so a lot of times they don't care nothing about the toy. They want your time. They want your presence. They want you to be there. They want your companionship. They want your ear. They want you, you know, that's what they want. You know what? Sometimes parents they want, I'm going to buy you this. I'm going to buy you that. That ain't going to work. It's not going to work. I don't care what you buy them. Buy them from the big wheel to the car. That ain't going to make your relationship no better. They are, thank you. And they still who they are. You got to give them the time. They don't care what you know. They want to know that you care.
Oh, that is so good. And I'm gonna wrap us up in a minute. But when you talk about that, when I was raising my daughter, because I felt like I was giving my all that I could give. I gave all that I had. Like I didn't necessarily really know how to love. I just knew that I loved her, right? I did the best that I knew, and that maybe that's not the best for, and there may be a mother or a father, right? Or an adult daughter that has children. You may be giving your best that you have. Sometimes we have to go above and beyond what that best may be and what that looks like, right? But it is a struggle for me when we talk about the time. One thing my daughter said to me one time, she said, I don't want to blotch what she said, but pretty much it had to do with my time when she was coming up. But I had to work.
Right.
I had to try to make ends meet, and it was just me doing it. You know, and I always say this, it may be like a broken record, but I always say it because I have to. People think that when you have struggles with your children, we talk about the father, a lot of time I hear people be like, oh, did you not let the dad in the child's life? That's not always the case, right? Because I didn't do it. I had that open door policy, but it just didn't happen. But one of the things my daughter, she used to say, you know, she needed my she didn't know how to articulate it then, but I realized later it was my emotion that she needed. And I always spent time with her. So hear me clear. We did the Gilmore Girls. We watched that together. Me and my daughter, so hear it. I spent time with her, but I didn't give her my time.
That makes sense.
You're right. It's like, so she needed something, and then even my emotional attachment that I wasn't healed within myself to know how to give because of my own brokenness prior to. And then when you're trying to raise children, so mothers, when you're trying to raise your children, just remember something. You cannot be a mother and a father. You just can't. It's impossible. I used to say this, I'm the mom and the dad, right? I've said that recently, like, I felt like the mama and the daddy. But the reality is you cannot be a mother and a father. You're one. You are the mother. The father is the father, and he has to put the impartation into that daughter's life. But I do want to kind of, you may not necessarily be, maybe we can't really conversate about this because we don't really know, but it is hard when, as for mothers with our adult daughters, it is hard when you get the bulk of that disrespect from your daughters because they blame you for everything. And so when you actually can see it and see that there's a father wound there, when and that's not every situation, but when a daughter is missing her father, she acts out in ways that are unimaginable. Because what you described, do you know how many women would have loved to have had a father in their child's life to speak into that daughter's life the way you're speaking into your daughter's life, and then you're married too. So that union too makes it.
Right. So my daughter would tell me, like two or three of her friends, they come to the house sometime, I buy them pizza or something like that. They ride around on the golf cart, whatever they may be doing. And she'll come and tell me, she'll say, Dad, my friend said, you're so cool. I said, yeah, I know, jokingly. I get it from my grandmother. Yeah, I know, but
Your grandmother, we don't have the
our
same
grandmother. I'm sorry, our grandmother. Yeah, so, yeah. So when you tell her something, I used to tell Mama, hey, Mama, I love you. Yeah, I know, So, but my
she
daughter,
said, she said,
yeah, yeah. So my daughter would tell me, like, her friends will say, like, oh, your dad is so cool or something like that. And some of the things that my daughter have, they don't have. And I have to tell my daughter, well, baby, look at the situation. And they come from a single home or whatever. And maybe they don't have it, financially or whatever. Maybe they can't, do those things. I said, don't take it for granted though, and again, I try to open up the line of communication, let her know that I don't know what happened in their household for whatever reason they're not with the fathers or whatever. But I told my daughter, I said, I heard a long time ago, it's better to come from a broken home rather than to be in a broken home. So if you're in a situation with a family member, mother, father, and they're not getting along, the kids want them to stay together no matter what the circumstances are. But if you're in a situation where you and your spouse are fighting and arguing and fussing all the time, that's not healthy for the kid. So again, like I say, whether to come from a broken home, whether to be in a broken home, you reliving it, you keep going through it, and y'all are miserable, but you're trying to stay there for the kids. So the kids don't see that. Sometimes the kids will be like, well, it's your fault that mom and dad are not together, so to speak. Or they may blame themselves. And I've learned too that, again, working in the school, when I'm seeing these kids, talking to some of these kids, and you think like, man, this kid don't have no home training. But then you talk to their parents, and then parents like, no, not in my house. And I said, oh, this is a different kid when he comes to school. It's not the same kid that's in the household. So then some kids, no matter what you do, no matter how you raise them, no matter what you give them, some kids they're gonna go down a different path. That's just life is gonna take them down a different path. That's a choice that make. You have no reason to beat yourself up about it. That's just life.
Oh yes, you just talked about good. That's good. Thank you. And look, you might be healing me. So listen, you talked about that broken home. I do want to. It's like you keep coming. I'm trying to let us loose here, but I want to. You talk about that broken home. I just literally talked to somebody about this. I'm not kidding. I just had this conversation. I'm gonna be careful with my make sure I don't let names come out my mouth. But I just literally had this conversation with someone about that, because we think we want to do the right thing, but if you're going to be in brokenness and allow children to see that brokenness played out over them, what's really harder? Honestly, not being there and it be some peace somewhere, and I'm just using the word peace as other words we can use, or having them in a chaotic chaos battlefield, sort of say, like, which one is really better when you really think about it?
And it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you think about that, like you said, you mentioned you had to work as a single parent or whatever, or that mother or father, whomever's working. So you got to work. So you got to work in order to provide, to feed the kid, to clothe the kid, to, just be a provider. And so now you're gone. The kid is not there with you because you're trying to work and provide for this kid. So the kid's saying you're not there. But then if you're there and you're giving the kid the time and everything, now the kid don't have those things that the other kids have. And other kids are teasing them about or something like that. But as a kid, a baby, they don't know any better. But as they get older, little Aisha got the new shoes. I don't have the new shoes. Well, you don't have the new shoes because I had to stay here and be here with you and walk you and take you to the park. But if I went to work, I could buy you them shoes that Aisha got, so to speak.
Dang, it's back to the DAMN if you do, DAMN if you don't. It's to either one. It's like, and for those of y'all, I'm spelling the word because Elenor don't be cussing. And I could thank you, cousin. All right. But we can't say dang if you do or dang if you don't, right? But that is such good. And something else you were saying while you're talking, because this stuff is just coming in my head. Even though you were gone, thank you, Holy Spirit, for this, because even though you were gone, you still were able, because you just recently retired from me, so you were still gone, and your daughter is getting ready to be ready for college soon.
Right.
So you still were able to breathe into her, and not just her, your son. Like you're
Mhm.
able to breathe into their
Right.
life, even in your absence,
Mhm.
meaning away from home. And it's
Mhm.
going back to what you said. It's the conversation, the communication that you're
Mhm.
having with them. So you don't even have to necessarily just be there. You're showing your love through a phone line,
Mhm.
through a text message, through
Mhm.
a back in our day, letter in the mail, and I do still
Right.
try to do letters.
Right.
A
Right.
letter in the mail that you're doing. That's teaching communication.
Mhm.
That's teaching I genuinely care about you. Like what's greater than that? That I just care about you and I want you to know that I love you and I'm not even there.
Mhm.
So you can have parents in different homes and it still happen, but that parent that parent has to want to do that. Like you said, 99% of the time. Go ahead. I'm sorry, cousin.
And yeah, I think you have to tell the kids though too. I think we sometimes as parents we think, well, oh no, my baby know I love her. I bought her the new shoes. I bought her that car. She know I love
Oh,
her, but she got to hear it though.
yeah.
And like I say, and I believe, and I always say, show me that you love me. You ain't got to tell me I'm different like that. My love language, so it's different. I said, you ain't
Yeah.
got to tell me, show me. I try to do that with my daughter, not so much, but I tell her she need to hear it. Hey, baby, you're beautiful. You're attractive. You don't need nobody to validate you. If you need anything, come to me for it. You ain't got to go, try and find it from somewhere else or something like that. They need to hear that. Not
That's
just
right.
like I said, well, I love you because I bought you this, or I bought you that, or I took you to the park, or I did these things for you. They need to hear it too. You need to tell them.
Yes, that's good. And I want to just pop this in there for anybody that's wondering, like, oh, you said he has a son. I hear you hear it because sometimes people will get all caught up. Well, they were only talking about the daughter. No, we're
Mhm.
talking about the daughter because the purpose of this ministry is for mothers and adult daughters.
Mhm.
But loving his son all the same. We just
Yeah,
talking about
absolutely.
daughters. For somebody that might want to say something,
Mhm.
that's why we're talking more about my little cousin, the
Right.
daughter. Okay.
And she's in the house too, so yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, and even if she wasn't,
Right,
it
right.
still be the purpose of this is for adult daughters. If we
Yeah,
were talking about adult sons, we'd be talking about my other cousin,
I
more
still need
about
to
him.
be able to reach out to her, and she still need to be able to reach out to me under any circumstances.
That's
She
right.
need to know that I'm available anytime,
Yes,
no
that
matter
is
what
so
time.
that's
Mhm.
good. Now, you said something about that love language, and we're gonna
Mhm.
probably bring it to a heart here.
Mhm.
I want to talk about your relationship with the Lord
Okay.
because I would be remiss if I don't. Like,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
let's talk about your relationship with the Lord. Like, when did you come into the knowledge of the Lord, and how does that play a part? So, part one, when did you come into the knowledge of the Lord, and how does that play a part in your relationship with your daughter?
Well, as a kid, I was introduced to the Lord very early. My mother always took us to church, even when I didn't know what's going on. You go
Mhm.
to church, even if you just playing, you falling asleep or whatever. I always went to church as a kid. Over my 30 years in the Marine Corps, so that was instilled in me at a young age, a very young age. So
Mhm.
even when I didn't go to church with my mother, I would go to church with my friend's mother, their parents. I would go to church with them. So it was always instilled in me. When I went to the military, 30 years, no matter where I was, no matter what base I was on, what country I was in, wherever I was at, even in Iraq, Afghanistan, I always found a church because you need some type of grounding, some foundation, spiritually,
Mhm.
mentally, and physically. So I always had God always with me, always, no matter where I went. And so I teach my kid that now. And as I've gotten older, you learn more, and I'm more involved in church, more so now than even I was growing up. And like I said, traveling, moving different places. So, and I try to get my daughter involved as well. As well. I take her, make her go to church. If you can go and hang out with your friends and go skating all night, you can get them to go to church, just like we were told growing up. So,
Yes.
so that's very important to me. Everything to me. God means everything to me. Everything.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Everything.
So, do you now tell me what is it that I did not bring up in this conversation
Mhm.
that you're like, man, I wish we would have talked about this. I want you to just give it to me.
Probably, like you mentioned, the disrespect, and I don't think we could match energies. We shouldn't match energies. Like with me, I mean, you mentioned if your daughter's or son or whomever your child is talking to you in a disrespectful manner. With me, I've been. I think the louder you get, the calmer I get. And I say when two people are having an argument, I use the example in the classroom. Two kids, kids get into it, or whether they're going back and forth, using vulgar language, cursing each other out. I'll make contact with one of them and I'll say, look at me, and this one, bleep, 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 bleep. Oh, you shut up. Or what I say, look at me. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Just look at me. And so the one kid look at me And eventually, once I got that one kid's attention, the other kid will eventually fizzle out, because you can't keep having a argument with yourself. And so I tell people, don't add logs to the fire. If the fire is burning, because you're putting logs on it, don't add no fire to it. So me, I'll sit there and I'll listen. Even if I disagree, I'll listen to you, because some people just want to be heard. They need to be heard. Sometimes they just need to vent. Like your kids, just let them talk, and just let them know that you're there for them. And maybe not, you're not going to solve it right then, because of the height of the blood pressure being up, and all the horns and whistles and going off. So, all the chaos. So he's got a calmer heads will prevail. I'm sure you heard that before. So sometimes I
Yes.
sit there and I listen, and people told me, like, man, Greg, you act like you don't care, like nothing bothers you. I said, no, it bothers me. I just not to the point where it's, if I'm losing myself and I'm yelling and you yelling and both of us are talking, who's listening? Yeah, so
Right.
I think I just listen. I want to listen to you. Like I said, we got one mouth, two ears for a reason, so we should do more listening and less talking.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I struggle with the when someone's being disrespectful to me. Ooh. Now I've learned to not. I mentioned on here before, like it was a couple years ago, probably about 3 years ago now, that my mom and I had this big blow up, and it hurt me to my core, for myself. I couldn't even rest that night. Like I literally had to get up, just embrace her, like I am so sorry. Like I think about that with this culture. They don't. It's like, so what? We got into it, right? And for me, I think about how I couldn't. When I say I couldn't sleep, I need you to literally understand that I did not sleep a wink and had to get up and drive 14 hours back somewhere, and I had not slept at all because I could not sleep because it bothered me so bad. So we talk about that with this, what we're dealing with now. They can, like you said, they're going at each other. They can go off and cuss people out and don't lose a wink of sleep. And it's because they cussing their parents out. They don't care. And it's because they have their so-called peers around them that's doing the same thing.
Right.
So, but I definitely, I'm saying that because we're looking at how many of them really will calm down. The fact that you can get them to calm down is amazing. But you're right. If I don't have a word to say back to you, there's nothing you could get. At some point, you may keep going for a minute.
Right.
But at some point, you're going to go on. You can call me out my name or do whatever, but you're going to move on. But we struggle, and I'm using me as a perfect example. That struggle comes in because if someone just keep coming at you and keep coming at you, sometimes you have to remove yourself.
Right.
It's not even about just being quiet. You're the one with the wisdom. Just remove yourself. And so many want to feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? Lack of a better term. Just, I'm not going to be disrespected. So they pride puffs up. And the word God talks to us about this. In Proverbs, it talks about a prideful man being a foolish man. Right? So
pride before the fall.
That's now come on. Listen, people do not understand that.
Right.
Let me explain what that means, people, for you that do not understand what pride before the fall means. Your pride getting in the way. I'm gonna make it in layman terms. Your pride is getting in the way right before the catastrophe for you to fall. Hit it hard.
Right.
Why even go that route? Just okay. You getting all puffed up. Just let it go.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. And then that takes, stress, right? Stress is the silent killer. You talk about you getting all puffed up. So now you got all this negative energy and you puffing, the kids puffing, and for what? At the end sometimes, like I said, at the end of the argument, you got to think like, wow, what was it even about? After the fact, it just, you trying to enforce your opinion on them. They're trying to enforce their opinion on you, and y'all are clashing because nobody's listening to nobody. Like I said, cooler heads prevail. You got to calm down and think about it, talk about it. And I know it don't always work like that, because sometimes, like for me, I dial back. I'm telling you, I'll be probably more relaxed. The louder you get, the quieter I'll get. And I'll sit there and just look at you sometimes. Like the people like, man, this guy's crazy. What's wrong with him? He ain't saying
that. They want to be be heard. But if I can add to that, arguments to me are simply put this way to me. You're trying to force me to do it your way. And if two people arguing, that's all you're doing. Or if you're having this huge back and forth disagreement. Okay, I don't have to go back and forth with you.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't, just because I'm not going back and forth with you it doesn't mean that I agree with you either. But I can
Right.
walk away from this. But
Right.
that's why people argue. You're trying to force
Right.
someone to do it your way.
And I always tell people, I said, it's funny you mentioned, I always use the analogy like ice cream, right? If I like vanilla ice cream, you like chocolate ice cream. Don't try and force me to eat chocolate ice cream. I want to eat my vanilla, you eat your chocolate. We just agree to disagree. You can tell me all day why you think chocolate is better. Okay, that's fine. I like my vanilla or my butter pecan. I'm gonna eat what I want to eat. Don't try and make me eat your ice cream because that's what you like. So,
Yes. Can you speak that? And it is so and then they make excuses. So now we just about to, I'm telling you, they make excuses. I'm like, for why? Well, I'm just trying to explain to you. No. Now
mhm,
I got this bad too. So like I have not eaten all I eat is seafood for the last
mhm,
it's been over 2 months at this point.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I'm trying to get away from the seafood as well. And because I've learned how to make certain vegan options,
mhm,
I don't even want to say vegan, non-meat options, right? I've learned, my husband, he says, he always like, I don't want that, I don't want that. But when I make it and I don't tell him what it is, he's like, oh my
eat
goodness,
it.
it's good.
Yeah,
What you put in this? What is this, right?
yeah,
And I'll tell him, and he'll say, stop feeding me stuff without telling me what it is, right? So, like,
right.
like,
Yeah.
the point I'm making is we have this with the meat, it's like I had kept trying to tell him, okay, it's a better way for us to eat. All this
Mhm,
meat and stuff like that, that's
mhm,
not good going into our bodies to each his
mhm,
own. This is not good. No matter what I said to him, he wasn't budging. So I started fixing my food,
mhm.
eating it. If you want to eat, this is what you're gonna
What
eat.
we eating, right?
Yes, I just wouldn't say whether or not it was whatever.
Mhm,
This man literally be like, how you make this food taste this good? He said, I've never had non-meat food taste like this when I tried. I said, because I season it like
mhm,
my mama say, I cook with love. So I
mhm,
cook with love. I'm seasoning it like I would normally season anything else. And I
mhm,
don't use a salt. I don't use a lot of salt like that. I use
mhm,
naan. And so the point I'm making is I let it go. I can't make him see it my way. Just like he can't make me see it his way.
right.
So I stopped going back and forth with him. And now whenever I make my dishes, he like, what do you have in there?
Mhm,
Can I have some? I go even to the word of God. I remember when I would just be going back and forth with him about, okay, you need to spend this much time with the Lord. Me just and pushing upon him.
mhm, mhm,
And it was just as if though God just kept dealing with me, just
mhm,
kept dealing with me. What do I want you to do? You stay
mhm,
focused on what I want you to do. And it before I knew it, it just happened. Or just one day, it was like I'm watching him just be in the word of God, just studying the word. And I said, God, I couldn't have orchestrated that any better
mhm,
if I with me forcing it, right?
mhm,
So I'm using those analogies because I need someone to understand what I'm hearing you to say. If we would just let the argument go,
mhm,
God can handle it better than anything
mhm,
that we could ever even try to do. I love the Lord. Like I am a believer in him. I
mhm,
believe in his word. I believe his word is true. I believe it is the blueprint of our life. When I talk about it, it makes me calm down because
mhm,
I just love what I gain when I just spend time and bask in his word to get to
mhm,
know him. And I think that if we take time in our life and just say, God, look, you know what? Let me remove that. Let's just, I, I'm gonna challenge somebody.
mhm.
Don't even say God. Lord, I'm not removing you now. You know where I'm at. You already know my thoughts.
Be
Okay.
careful.
Just right. Just open up the book
Mhm,
and just anywhere, just open it up.
mhm,
Nehemiah,
mhm,
Ezra. You can go to Psalms, Proverbs. Let's go to First Chronicle, Second Chronicle. Let's go to Corinthians. Start anywhere. Doesn't matter. Start at the beginning, Genesis. Start at
mhm,
the end, Revelation. It doesn't matter. Just open up and start reading one chapter a day,
mhm,
every day. Don't even pray. I'm not
mhm,
even encouraging you to pray. I'm just saying, read the word and watch how God begins to transform you
mhm,
from the inside out. And I wish earlier on, when we are talking about adult daughters, I knew God. from an early age. Like I was 12 years old when I first
Mhm.
began to realize, like, oh my gosh, I love this person they talking about. Like, cause I
Mhm.
knew it was something different. And I've always loved him. But there was those hills and valleys. You growing up, learning
Mhm.
yourself and your peers, and you're going the wrong way, and you're getting
Mhm.
caught up in things that you shouldn't, all that kind of stuff, all the things that can happen. But what I knew when I was raising my daughter was I know I love God.
Mhm.
And I know that I'm doing the best that I can according to what I believe. And hear me, I believe that his word is telling me to do.
Mhm.
And God honors that. Even though I look at and I have the turbulent relationship with my daughter and the many women that I communicate with that struggle with that, when we honor God, he will not leave us hopeless.
Right.
He will redeem us. He said he will give us back all that the cankerworm stole from us. And if we would just believe his word does not lie. So I just encourage us, as all of us, to just say, let me take the time
Mhm.
to spend time in this word that everybody's talking about. I don't have nothing to lose if I just read it and see if he'll transform me and
Mhm.
redeem my relationship with my adult daughter and redeem my relationship with, maybe it's an adult son, redeem the relationship in a marriage, redeem the relationship of a friendship,
Mhm.
redeem. He can redeem so many things when we just give it over to him when it's his will.
Mhm.
I mean,
I say,
that's just,
cousin. I'm saying, I'm sorry, man.
no, no, go ahead.
I said, I try to pray about everything and not worry about anything. That's what I try to do,
Yeah.
because even with our kids, I know we realize sometimes you're gonna find out that worrying about it ain't gonna change it. They just give you something to do. You're gonna be all stressed out worrying about it, and it doesn't change anything. So you do what you can do. Like I said, you do pray for them. You be there for them. Always be available. Make yourself available for them, whatever, and you pray for them. But if you stressing about it and you trying to control the situation, it's never gonna happen that way.
Oh my
It,
goodness.
yeah, it's not.
It won't. Cousin, let me just tell you how much I appreciate you. I almost don't want to say it. Like sometimes I don't even like to say things because it just seems like so many people just say stuff and it's like, do people really mean what they're saying? Like
Mhm.
I am so filled with emotion right now because I see you. I I've always just had a respect for you, but I just see you so much different in such a greater way. And just grateful that I even have the opportunity to even be able to call you cousin.
Mhm.
Like that God would even bless me for us to even be in the same, like that same bloodline. I think about the different things that we look at people and we want to dictate or choose what's good and what's bad instead of just saying, okay, what has God placed before you? And what will you gain from that? And
Mhm.
I've gained so much just over the years with you, but in this conversation,
Mhm.
I just see you. And I hope that every woman and adult daughter can just see your heart.
Mhm.
And there's fathers that will be able to hear you and say, hey, listen, let me pick up the pieces where my daughter needs me in her life,
Mhm.
because you will be the first man that will tell her, I love you.
Mhm.
The first man that will be able to kind of help guide her path.
Mhm.
I was telling a young lady recently about, she didn't really want to talk to her dad. And I was like, I told her, I said, yes, you do. Your father, you will be surprised at the things that a father and the lengths they will go to for their daughters when they
Mhm.
love them and they
Mhm.
want to be there for them.
Mhm.
Your father wants to be in your life. He's being there for you. Give him give him all of you when
Mhm.
it comes to being open and transparent with your father, and hear him even if you don't like what he's saying. As a
Right.
man, he can tell you better than what that boy is telling
Mhm.
you.
Because,
That's
like I said, we don't always get it right either. We as adults, even still, we make mistakes. So but you got to know our heart. You got to kids. We try to let them know our intentions are always well. We don't always do the right thing. We don't always make the right choices or whatever. And we got to look at our kids and say the same thing. If we still making mistakes, if we're not always making the right decisions, we got to allow our kids to make those mistakes as well, and accept it. And just move forward.
Can I just say I love you? Can
I
I
love you
just
too,
come through
cuz.
here and just give you a hug? Like I got a virtual hug. I am giving you like I love you. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. So I'm just gonna skim here real quick because
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
trying to believe we need to learn the values. I was gonna, if we kind of hit on that though,
Mhm,
I wanted us to chat about the value and the wisdom of God
mhm,
and how receiving that wisdom, like receiving critique and wisdom from elders. Titus
mhm,
2:2 tells us that it is the older women to teach the younger women and the older men that teaches the younger
mhm.
men. But this younger generation don't want to hear. And I had wrote something
And
because
why you
I have
pulling it?
one,
Why you
huh?
pulling it up? Cuz sometimes we tell the kids they'll they'll they listen to what we're saying, but they'll hear it later. It don't
Mm,
necessarily hit them right now. But like, oh man, I remember Greg told me this. Oh, I remember my cousin Elenor told me this. Like it don't necessarily hit them right then because you're old, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a kid's
yeah,
thing. So,
you
but they
know
get
that's
it.
real.
They get it.
Yeah, because we had to get, well,
Right,
me, I
right.
end up getting it like, oh my gosh, like it's like I knew it, like when I had my daughter, I had her at 18.
Mhm,
I knew in that very moment, this right here is my life, and I'm about to live it like with my
mhm,
baby. Like I
mhm.
got it. It was like all this old with people partying. Okay, and everybody again, do
Mhm.
whatever you want to do.
Right,
Okay, I don't care. I'm talking about me.
right.
Like the partying and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't for me. My life had to be lived around my daughter. I said that all the time, her growing up.
Mhm,
I lived my life around my daughter. She did not live her life around me. She
mhm,
was my priority, period. And there are some that might say, well, even though you did that for your child, they still acting out. Okay, that may be so. But my God is not, he will
right.
not fail me.
And don't beat yourself up for that either. Don't beat
Oh,
yourself up. Yeah.
I'm telling. So here's what I had wrote this down. So
Mhm,
the as parents, because I had wrote this down. I said, as parents, we don't always get it right. And you said
right.
that. And
Mhm,
I literally have that written here. I typed up. I said, just because as a parent, we didn't get it right as parents.
mhm,
So that does not mean that we don't have something to offer, because what
right.
ends up happening is we beat ourselves up because we feel
Mhm,
like we didn't get it right.
right.
And so our daughters or sons or whatever is disrespectful, or they're like, oh, you didn't do this. Okay, so
Mhm,
let's just say we didn't get it right. We don't always get it right. But that doesn't mean, and I'm speaking to
mhm,
somebody,
mhm,
that does not mean that God is not grown you to
mhm,
use you with a young person that wants to hear
mhm.
from you,
And I
that wants to get it.
and I would say I got it wrong so I could get it right with you. If I got it
Yeah.
wrong, if I made the mistakes and I done things that I shouldn't have done or whatever, I don't want you to make them same mistakes. I don't want you to go down those same roads. So I'm trying to curb you from going down that road, falling that
Yes.
same pothole that I fell in. So if I didn't get it right,
Yes.
I'm trying to get it right for you. That's what I would say.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. And oh, I wrote here, I believe strongly that, and I told you about that. I put that there. We need to learn the value and the wisdom of God for our lives.
Mhm,
Like we
mhm,
definitely need to know that. But I do want to horn in on that and come on out of here with that. And that is mothers and fathers. Listen, if you didn't get it right with your children, don't it happened.
mhm, mhm.
But God, he will use you. And there is someone, because their reality is there are some adult daughters and adult that they don't want to come back.
Right.
You can't
Mhm,
do anything about that
mhm.
because everybody has their own mindset. But don't limit the wisdom that God has placed inside of you to pour into another
Absolutely.
adult daughter. That's it may be someone else's daughter
Mhm,
that
mhm,
now you can pour into their lives and they want to receive it. Because I see it this way: a person that does not want what you have and they want to hold you captive to all that
mhm,
you've done wrong,
mhm.
that's where they want to be. I had
Right.
to gain that.
Mhm,
And I've gained it on this journey of doing this podcast because I still was beating myself up. And it was one day I just sat up. It's like the
mhm,
Lord woke me up. I'm not sleep. He always dealing with me in the night. I don't know what it is with him at this
mhm,
1:32 this in the morning, but it's like set me straight up that you just stay on this road.
mhm,
You don't worry about that. You can't do anything about what a person
mhm,
doesn't want to hear you or wants to keep you captive in that. He will change all those things, but don't
mhm.
you worry about that. You
Right.
move forward and do what I called you to do in
Mhm,
my name for others. And so I had to get comfortable with that. I said, God, yes, because there's someone else that wants the wisdom.
mhm,
They want to receive the
mhm.
critiquing. that you're giving them. And as our parents called it, constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I
because
too, cuz I get woken up at 2, 3 in the morning. And like you said, God wakes you up at 2, 3 in the morning because your mind is clear of distractions. You're not hearing the neighbor's dog barking, airplanes flying over, TV's playing, radios on. It's a lot of those distractions. So 2 in the morning, you ain't hear nothing, just you and God. That's probably why you get woke up 2, 3 in the morning to hear that, so you can hear him clearly.
oh my goodness. And he has me up. Okay. Now
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead. Do you have any? I want to close us out with prayer, but I first
Okay,
want to
absolutely.
know if there, and I don't want to know, do you want to pray? Because I want you to pray over us, but I can pray.
I'll pray us out.
You pray. Okay. But do you
Yeah.
have anything before you pray that you want? I know I asked you this, but I just want to make sure do you have any leadership things that you deal with that you want to invite people to, that you want them to go to? Anything that you want to encourage fathers in, as
Mhm.
well as mothers, and then you close us out in prayer.
Okay. I would say, listen to your kids. I know again, you may think it's something small because it's your kid, like, oh, he or she don't have no problems. You're a kid. What problems you have? They're their problems. So you have to accept it for that. Don't say how you feel and how it bothers you because it doesn't bother you. It doesn't move you. But to them, it's a major problem. So we need to address it as such, and we need to look at it as such. Don't discredit their problems. Don't discredit their feelings. They're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to have feelings. So again, listen to your kids. Listen to them when they're telling you something and watch their body language. A lot of times their body will say stuff that their mouth is not saying. So I'm very observant when it comes to body language. I'm around my daughter. Sometimes she's saying something that's not matching up with the words that are coming out of her mouth. I may not even tell her right then, but I tell her like, what you're saying is not matching. So
Yeah.
listen to your kids. Definitely listen to them. And then don't be so aggressive to go at them when they do something wrong. You need to talk to them. You need to be an outlet for them to come and talk to you. So when they do something wrong, not if, when they do something wrong, they will be able to come to you with that. And cousin, I love you. I
I love
thank
you
you for
too.
allowing me to come onto your
Oh,
platform.
thank
I appreciate it,
you.
giving me this opportunity. It means a lot. I don't take it for granted. 'Cause like I said, I was saying your time is precious and you could have had anybody else on here. So I thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak with you.
I
I appreciate
love
it.
you. I do. And when you pray, if you don't mind praying, if you would give a specific prayer for mothers and adult daughters on their journey.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All
Okay.
righty.
All right. Close my eyes. Bow my head.
Okay.
So, Lord, I thank you for this opportunity for me to talk to my cousin. First off, I thank you for waking us up this morning because if you didn't wake us up, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. Lord, I want to thank you for covering our families, our daughters, our sons, our mothers, aunts, uncles, cousins. Lord, I ask that you continue to protect us and cover us from all the hurt, harm, and danger and unforeseen things, Lord, that you see, that we don't see. I ask that you give us the guidance, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions and then the right choices in life, Lord, because we know our choices have consequences. I thank you for this opportunity, Lord, and we ask you all these things in your precious name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. I am so honored. Thank
Thank you.